Okay, we're back on the Big Four and More podcast, wrapping up 2016 NBA free agency. We talked about the Raptors offseason. You can check out our other video on our account if you want to see that. For right now, we're talking about all the signings outside of the Raptors and, of course, the Big E, Kevin Durant. So it's been a crazy offseason. A lot of franchise cornerstones have bounced around and found new homes in the NBA. And I'll start off with you, Mike, on Dwayne Wade to the Chicago Bulls.
Well, first, before I get into that, we'll just run through some of the big names in free agency, and then we'll just kind of talk about how we think some of these new foreign teams will do. But we'll just run through some of the big ones. So obviously, Dwayne Wade was the biggest one outside of Kevin Durant, leaving Miami for 2 years, $47.5 million with the Bulls. And I think that I support the move. I found it a little strange that he'd leave Miami. I thought he would be with Miami forever. I thought he would just be one of those guys who would stick with that team. He's won 3 titles there. But he is from Chicago. That is his hometown. I think that the situations in Miami and Chicago are very similar. They're not top of the East. They're not bottom of the East. They're middle of the pack, playoff teams in the East. So I understand why he wasn't going to win a championship in Miami with that team. So I understand why he left. I mean, Miami Heat fans, I don't see why you have any reason to be upset with him. He did so much for that team. He brought 3 titles there. He took so many pay cuts for that team in order to bring in other stars, in order to bring in LeBron and players like that. And he wanted to get paid. He wanted to get the pay that he wanted, and the Bulls offered it, and it was his hometown. He took it, and I got nothing against that. I mean, it's not like he's going to a contender or anything like that. He's just going to his hometown where they offered him the money.
Yeah, I don't think it's a winning thing at all. I think he's already won 3 titles. I don't think he's worried about winning at all. I think it's a respect thing. Like you said, he took so many pay cuts. He took a massive pay cut. I think he was hovering around the veteran minimum to get LeBron James and Chris Bosh to Miami back in 2010.
Mm-hmm.
And then he took another pay cut to keep Chris Bosh on the team when he almost signed it with the Rockets, and because he thought LeBron was going to come back. Of course, LeBron ended up going
to
Cleveland. But he took 2 massive pay cuts. Finally, Miami has the space to sign him. He's Mr. Miami Heat. It was time for them to pay him and give him that legacy contract for what he's done for the franchise. And of course, they go and they give Hassan Whiteside this max, and they will not give Wade anywhere near the kind of money he's been worth his entire career. So I think enough's enough. I'm going home to my hometown Bulls where they'll actually pay me the money I deserve, and I think that's what it boils down to.
And for the Bulls, it's not you don't lose anything with this. You're not. I mean, you get Dwayne Wade. You're not going to be. I mean, they did make some moves to try to make themselves contenders, but it wasn't a bad deal for the Bulls, and I don't think this affects Dwayne Wade's legacy at all. Not at all. He's won his 3 titles. If anything, I think it makes his legacy a little stronger in terms of just he took so many pay cuts, and he just finally just went out and got the respect he deserved from another team. So I think it actually in a weird way kind of helps his legacy. So let's stick with the Bulls there.
Yeah, let's talk about the Bulls lineup for a second here.
They got Rajon Rondo.
They trade away Derrick Rose.
Mm-hmm.
Joakim Noah's gone.
Mm-hmm.
And so now their backcourt is Rajon Rondo and Dwayne Wade.
And Jimmy Butler.
It'd be so weird to see. Yeah, I guess they'll shift Butler into the 3. But let's just talk about Wade and Rondo playing on the same team.
Yeah,
these guys hated each other for years when they were on the Celtics and Heat. They were massive rivals. A couple years down the road, they're on the same team.
Yeah, I guess they just got over it, and I think Rondo probably realized that Chicago was probably the best fit for him in terms of they need a point guard and on a team that can probably compete. And
no.
Okay, well, in terms of making, not compete for a title or anything, but just be a solid playoff team.
Let's talk Bulls expectations here.
I think they'll be like a five seed,
No
a 5,
way.
6 seed. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I see at the top Cleveland, Toronto, Boston, and then you got maybe Indiana, and then after that it's like it's like New York or Chicago. Like I don't know.
Who's gonna shoot on this team? They have 0 shooters.
I just
Rondo can't shoot. Wade can't shoot. Butler can't shoot. Their big man's Robin Lopez.
yeah.
Like, Hoiberg had an absolute hell of a time trying to rein in those guys last year and get them to respect him. Like, this is going to be must-see TV. This is going to be a dumpster fire. I really hope HBO signs the Bulls to a season-long documentary show. Like, I can't wait to see how terrible it's going to be.
But I see them making the playoffs. I see them like in the 5, 6, 7 range. That's where I see them at. Like,
I say their ceiling is the 7 seed.
yeah.
They can't get better than that.
Well, we'll just have to see how it turns out. Who knows?
I'm just saying, like, NBA is all about shooting.
Yeah.
No one can shoot on that team.
Dwayne Wade can hit mid-range jumpers.
I mean, sometimes, like 5 years ago, maybe.
He's known for hitting those bank shots.
I guess so. If he can hit bank shots for 82 games, maybe they'll be half decent.
Well, they got 3 stars on that team. I'm sure they'll do something.
They don't. They have 1 star on that team.
Okay, Dwayne Wade's not nothing. You saw him in the playoffs last year. He had a crazy
That's
playoffs.
peak Dwayne Wade.
He's still solid.
That's as good as he gets.
I know, but it's you look at the other teams in the Eastern Conference, what teams are going to beat them? Like that were in the playoffs last year. The Hawks got worse. Okay? Like the Wizards, they weren't in the playoffs last year, but like
Pacers got better.
Yeah, Pacers.
Charlotte is a solid team. I like Charlotte. They're not jumping all over these guys who peaked 5 years ago and are going to do nothing.
Yeah.
They have guys that mesh well together.
The Pistons aren't going to overtake the Heat. Not yet, at least.
The Heat, I think the Heat will be okay.
Or the Bulls.
Yeah, the Heat will be okay as well.
Yeah. So, I don't know.
Rondo is
well,
just...
who do the Heat have? They got Goran Dragic. I can't even say his name.
Dragic, yeah.
They got Whiteside, and then who? They lost Joe Johnson.
They got Justice Winslow.
They lost Luol Deng.
They'll be okay. They got some young guys that can grow together. They don't have guys in their early to mid-30s who are stubborn as hell. Rondo is the only guy that could rein him in was Kevin Garnett. He was the only guy that could get Rondo to be cooperative with anyone. Coach, player, owner, anyone. Guy does not like working with people. Him and Dwayne Wade are not going to get along. How do you think Jimmy Butler feels? Rose goes out, is gone. He's supposed to be, okay, now it's my time. I just developed into an all-star these last couple seasons. I'm going to be the face of this franchise.
I still think it's his team.
They bring in Dwayne Wade, and suddenly he can't even play his own position.
I still think it's Jimmy Butler's team.
He has to play small forward now. He can't even play shooting guard.
Well, we don't know. We'll just have to see.
We obviously don't know, but I guess, we'll see. Okay, moving on. Yeah, that's enough Bulls talk.
Okay, so now let's go to the Knicks.
All right, Knicks picked up Rose and Jakeem Noah. They also got Brandon Jennings and Courtney Lee.
Yeah, that's a solid lineup.
5 years ago, yeah.
I still
whole lot of good teams 5 years ago in this free agency.
They're a playoff team, 100% though.
I would put money on that. There is no way they make this playoffs.
I think they do make the playoffs.
Melo does not know how to play with anybody. He's an ISO spot-up shooter. Porzingis is awesome. They should not be crowding Porzingis with all these washed-up bums. Noah peaked 3 years ago.
I know, but
has no jump shot.
But
no knees.
It's like we talked, like I was telling you earlier. It's an upgrade. They upgraded in center and they upgraded on point guard. No matter, it's just an upgrade.
Yeah, but are you trying to build an 8 seed? Is that why you take control of a
franchise? Well, I think Knicks fans are tired of missing playoffs, and they wanted something, and they're like, okay, we got Phil Jackson at the helm. Why can't he do something? Like, we were sick of missing playoffs, so Phil Jackson went out and made a move to try to make this team kind of interesting, and now they are interesting, and now everybody wants to tune in. If they make playoffs, people are going to watch those Knicks playoffs
They're
games.
going to watch them get swept by the Cavs.
But it's something. It's something.
That's so un-Phil Jackson-esque. I don't know what he's doing.
I think Phil Jackson was brought in there to get the stars to New York.
he hasn't brought any.
And he hasn't brought any stars, and
Yeah.
Knicks fans are tired of it. So I think he finally realized that, hey, I got to do something. So with Derrick Rose, it's a 1-year deal. You either get a solid Derrick Rose or you get the broken Derrick Rose, and it's just a 1-year deal. It's
I like the Derrick Rose deal. Yes.
It's a test with
Yes.
Noah. It's an upgrade of what you had. You had Robin Lopez. I'd rather have Joakim Noah than Robin Lopez. Is it that considerable upgrade? No, it's not. But then it just makes them more interesting. Like New York's a mecca of basketball. Like, people don't want to go there and see them lose all these games. They want to see them kind of interesting, and I like it.
They're in the same. Yeah, I like that it's exciting. For all these moves, I'm trying to put my feet in the shoes of the owner or the GM or the coach of these teams, and I just don't get it. Like, obviously, it's the same position as the Bulls, where on paper you're like, oh, these guys can all play basketball, but you don't win games by playing fantasy basketball. You don't get the best players on the team. That's not how it works. It's not that easy.
I see it as a Brooklyn Nets type scenario when they brought in Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett. I just see it as that. The Nets got really interesting. They made playoffs. They didn't go far in playoffs, but they made playoffs. That's how I see it. And I just it probably hurts them in the long run in terms of like draft picks and stuff like that. But like the Knicks were like good enough that they weren't in the bottom 3 of the lottery. They were around like the Raptors got the 9 pick. So it's like, I don't know. They don't want to waste Carmelo. Either that or just get rid of Carmelo and just have New York be a dumpster fire more than it already is. Like, they had to do something. And Carmelo didn't want to leave New York. That's why he signed back there.
Right. No, you're right. I don't know. I don't think Noah contributes too much anymore. I think he can be a rotational big man. I don't think he can be the go-to guy anymore. Rose has no knees, no confidence, no jump shot.
Yeah. Well, it remains to be seen whether they make playoffs, but now they've got a team that can compete to make playoffs. They can at least compete to make playoffs. Whether they make playoffs or not, who knows? But, like, that team is much better than it was before, and they can compete for at least that 8 seed.
Right. I understand that they've had this pressure to put at least a decent product on the floor, being New York, but this isn't, Oklahoma City or a Charlotte or one of these markets that needs, or a Memphis that needs a half-decent team to make money. New York is going to make tons of money no matter what product's on the floor. They don't need to reach out and oversign players just so they can get an 8 seed or a 7 seed so they can, break even as a franchise. I don't know. I see Phil Jackson as the greatest mastermind, or one of the greatest masterminds in the history of basketball. And this just seems very nearsighted this offseason. Yeah,
but I feel like they've been struggling for so long now that
anything's better than nothing.
Anything's better than nothing. I know Knicks fans are like, when I saw these deals and I go on Twitter, they're just like rejoicing. They're like, Phil actually did something, and it's just like they just want to make basketball entertaining in New York again. I mean, yeah, they'll make money even if the team is bad. But like now they can make even like some even more money. Like,
right.
They'll get the money.
Yeah.
But anyways, enough with the Knicks. Let's go on to some other big deals. I'll just run through some players. Andre Drummond goes to the Pistons. That was expected.
Yeah.
He got a huge deal, but he deserves it. Look at some other deals.
Mike Conley. Can we talk about Mike Conley for a minute?
Didn't he just become like the highest paid player ever or something like that?
In NBA history.
Mike Conley did.
Mike flippin' Conley.
Now that's very questionable.
Just for a second.
It's very questionable.
Yeah.
I don't put him in top 5 point guards.
Definitely not.
He's in the top 10 though.
Debatably.
He's in the top 10.
Debatably. If you
point guard's very
think
stretched.
You think that initially, start counting some point guards. It's a deep point guard pool in today's NBA.
You know what? I want to do it. Okay, let's just keep talking. I'm going to pull up a list of all the point guards.
Okay, I'll go on Mike Conley.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's a deep point guard pool in today's NBA. I don't understand the Memphis move because if you look at every team, pretty much everyone has.
Okay, and by the way, you're right. He's not in top 10.
Yeah, everyone has at least a decent point guard. So it's not like there's all these teams who are at the Mike Conley table being like, we'll pay you a bunch. We need a point guard. Everyone at least has a half decent one. So it didn't seem like his market was that good. So I was shocked when Memphis gave him all this money for a guy who's above average but nowhere near great.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows? Maybe he was getting deals from other places.
I heard the Spurs were involved.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna hear. That's what I heard too. I heard the Spurs were interested. I feel like for the Grizzlies, Mike Conley is one of their draws, and just like they want to stay in the playoff picture. They don't want to fall to.
See, that's a team that I see making the type of moves that we were talking about New York doing. You know, you gotta throw money at these guys to keep people in the building.
But I feel like players like that aren't gonna go to Memphis.
Oh no, definitely. Yeah, I guess it's like a Toronto where you have to pay more money to get free agents to come here. Yeah.
But I feel like Toronto's more of a.
It's getting there. It's getting there.
Yeah, it's getting to near the top.
Where do you rank Mike Conley in point guards? Is he like 14 or 15?
According to ESPN, he's 13, but there's some.
Who's hovering around that range for them?
Well, they got Reggie Jackson at 12, and I kind of debate that. I say Mike Conley's a bit better than Reggie Jackson.
I agree, yeah.
They got Drew Holiday at 11, too. I kind of debate that as well.
I completely disagree, yeah.
But in top 10, I'll just run through it. Curry, Westbrook, Paul, Lillard, Lowry. Can't debate those.
Yeah.
Isaiah Thomas is better than Conley.
Yeah.
Kemba Walker.
Yes.
Eric Bledsoe.
Debatable.
And then you got Kyrie Irving and John Wall. And they have Bledsoe before Irving. That's a little questionable.
John Wall's like 8?
John Wall's 10.
Are you kidding me? Is this a numbers based thing, like a stats?
It's player efficiency.
A win
I
share
shouldn't
thing?
have.
Oh, okay.
This is player efficiency.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't even just ranking.
I was gonna say John Wall is top 5. Get out of here. But
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess
I should have read this.
Mike Conley's not top 10, but I guess he's a little better than.
He's probably
once you start looking at names, he's a little better.
He could be 10 if you switch Conley for Bledsoe. Then he's in the top 10.
Okay, I guess the deal's not that crazy. He's only gonna hold that for
unless
a
you
year.
think Jeff Teague's better.
No.
Okay.
I don't
so
think
then
so.
yeah, you
okay,
put him.
He's 10.
He's top 10. He's at 10. We'll put him at 10.
Okay. Decent. Not a terrible.
Regardless of the point, that's too much money for him.
Of course. Yeah. I guess their hands were tied though.
Yeah.
You know what? Whatever. Memphis is barely relevant. We've already talked too much about the Memphis Grizzlies. Let's move on.
Celtics, Al Horford.
Yeah, let's talk about Al Horford for a second here.
It's a little disappointing. Makes the Celtics more scary.
Yep.
More scary. Makes them scarier. That's all I can really say about that. It's just, I don't know. It's I mean, the Hawks, I feel like they don't really care because now they got Dwight Howard, and it's like, I don't know. As much as you want to say about Dwight Howard, I'm sure they're happy with Dwight Howard, even though they lost Al Horford. But now, like, the Celtics are just licking their chops because they got Al Horford.
They still have tons of cap space. They have a lot of, like, half-decent, project-type prospects who are still playing in the D-League and whatnot, like James Young, and they just got Jaylen Brown. So I think that was a great signing for them, and I don't think they're done. It might not be this offseason they make their next move. I mean, their next big move, or it's next offseason. But I'm really scared of the Celtics. I think this is a really good move for them.
And one thing I wanted to bring up, we were talking in the Raptors video, we were talking about Maurice Spates. I knew he signed a contract. He did sign a contract with the Clippers.
Oh, did he? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
He signed with the Clippers.
Okay.
And speaking of the Clippers, they did absolutely nothing. They have been
absolutely disappointing.
Yeah, they just re-signed guys.
Year,
they just re-signed like Crawford and and Austin Rivers, and they got Mbah a Moute. And
apparently, they were trying to get a meeting with Durant, and Durant didn't grant them a meeting. Yeah. I laughed at that. Like, do you think you have any chance of getting Kevin Durant?
Mm-hmm. And let's see, I'm trying to go through the list here. Al Jefferson to Pacers, that makes them better. I mean, whatever you think of Al Jefferson. Bradley Beal signed a huge deal with the Wizards.
That was hilarious.
Yeah.
That makes me so happy.
5 years, 100. That's like DeMar DeRozan type numbers.
And the guy has played like 35 games a season over the last like 3 seasons.
Yeah, and he's not proven anything.
Like, oh god.
And same with the Hornets made a questionable Nicholas Batum, 5 years, 120 million.
That's a little questionable.
Mm-hmm.
But I like what Charlotte's doing. They have good chemistry there.
Yeah, and just some other ones. Matt Dellavedova goes to the Bucks for 4 years. 38
Sick.
million. He's off of Cleveland, and I'm pretty sure Cleveland doesn't care. They don't.
I mean, yeah, he barely played in those finals, whatever.
Well, in fact, he got Mo Williams took his spot
Yeah, exactly.
in the backup.
Yeah.
Other than that, Eric Gordon to the Rockets.
Missing a biggie that we can kind of finish this video off on.
Pau
Pau
Gasol.
Gasol, yes, to the
Oh,
San Antonio
yeah.
Spurs.
So Raptors
Basically-
fans thought maybe there was a chance we were gonna get him, but instead he goes to San Antonio.
Of course, nothing new. It's still a 3-team league. We only have the Cavs, Spurs, and Warriors who really matter in this league anymore.
Well, it used to be 4 teams.
Used to be the Thunder in there,
Yeah.
but it's down to 3 now, and yes, Pau's going to the Spurs.
I
A
think they're-
classic Spurs move.
Just preparing in case Duncan actually leaves.
Yeah, I thought that was hilarious. Where it was on July 4th, and Durant announced his decision, and then right after it came out that Tim Duncan was gonna retire,
Yeah.
like he saw like the Durant decision, he was like, "Oh, screw this! I don't want to handle this."
Yeah.
But yeah, it's still not official, but it seems like Tim Duncan's definitely gonna retire.
Yeah, but with Pau Gasol, they're still a top contender. They still got Aldridge, they got Gasol, they got Leonard. They still keep Ginobili. Tony Parker's a
Yeah.
little bit older, but it'll be interesting.
They could still win the NBA championship next season. That's a
Do you
good
think
move.
so?
I think so. That's a good move for them. I think he's better than Tim Duncan at this stage in their
Oh
careers.
yeah, definitely at this stage in his career.
Yeah.
Well, it's
And
crazy world in the NBA free
Yeah,
agency.
so many big name former franchise cornerstones bouncing around. It's been really shocking.
Yeah.
And just one last thing, just talking about the franchise cornerstone thing. Who would have predicted that Chris Bosh would be the last big 3 standing on the Heat? Like, there's no way.
Yeah, I thought for sure he would just leave after
People
LeBron.
were calling for him to get traded, like his first 20 games there. If you're
Yeah.
like, look at this guy, he doesn't know how to play with LeBron, get him out of here. And like 6 years later, he's still there. He's the best player now.
He is the best player on that team, and I never even thought about that. It's just like, and I've seen so many memes on the internet of like, LeBron goes home to Cleveland, Dwayne Wade goes home to Chicago, and Chris Bosh should just go home, and it's like Jurassic Park.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
it's just like, yeah, it's funny that I even thought that like they would get rid of Chris Bosh like during that run,
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah.
and now he's still there. That's funny. I didn't even think about that.
Imagine if Chris Bosh came back to the Raptors. We need a power forward.
We would take him.
We'd take him. That'd be sick.
I mean, we would have to trade for him.
I don't think I'm angry at Chris Bosh anymore.
You were?
I definitely was.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty. I didn't really have an opinion at the time because the Raptors were not very good.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, if he came back, he'd surely get
He'd fit right in.
he'd get a
jump
huge
shooter. Yeah.
ovation too.
Oh yeah.
Also, one last thing about Dwayne Wade.
Yeah.
Do you think he'll get booed? I don't think he'll get booed.
In Miami?
Yeah.
He definitely should not. Like I
He
know
doesn't deserve to get booed.
I know it's just tradition now that when a star leaves, you have to burn your jersey. When I saw videos of people burning Dwayne Wade jerseys, are like, are you kidding me?
It's
Like,
sorry for
you
him
were
bringing you
n-
3 titles.
You were nothing before Dwayne Wade got
Yeah.
there. Absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
He is the Miami Heat.
Yeah, he is the Miami Heat. So I feel like people just did that. Like if you're genuinely mad about that, then you think Miami had a chance to go far with Dwayne
And you're
Wade.
delusional.
And you're
Yeah.
delusional.
Yeah.
Like it's time for the Heat to rebuild and figure something out.
Retool at least. Yeah.
And I think the people who burned the jerseys probably just did it for the publicity.
Post online, people share it, whatever. Yeah.
And like the next video that we're gonna get into, people burning the Durant jerseys. I understand that, but like, not.
Yeah. We're saving the best for our next video.
Yeah.
Click on the next video. You see our thoughts on the biggie, Kevin Durant signing with the Golden State Warriors.
Be sure to get a little heated.